Okay, sounds good. Okay.
Are you good, Jason?
Mm-hmm.
All right. I'll also listen and text you if there's anything.
Yes. Are we live?
Just on Facebook. That video was
Are we live?
What?
Are we live?
Yeah.
Huh?
Eh?
¿Cómo se dice?
We sure are.
Back there, right? Yeah.
Okay, mess.
No, you got that video stop right here.
I do.
You don't have any hallway, right?
Nope.
All right, Travis.
Thanks, Dean.
I'll hit you up.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Talk soon. You're traveling again, right?
Yes, I'm leaving tomorrow morning for Jacksonville. Welcome to Rockville. And
Thank
from
you.
there, North Carolina epicenter. And from there to Columbus, Ohio for something.
All right, thank you.
Have a good show.
Thanks, Dean. Have a good trip.
I can see your screen, by the way. Like the,
I know.
I'll try to move it.
We'll eventually do something.
is that better? I should just watch your screen. We should just work off the same screen. Well, maybe not, because mine's always split.
I know. You just want my screen. Just back off. Why are you laughing?
Our emergency code word.
Oh my god.
Thanks to Peter. I like it.
I'm using it now every time I text you, so.
Guys ready? Hello, universe, and welcome to the Epic Love Radio Show. Hey, we're bringing the good energy and the enthusiasm today. If you are tuning in, we appreciate it. We are grateful for you. We are sharing inspiring stories of love through action. Isn't that refreshing, Blair?
So refreshing.
My name is Travis Huge. I am one of your hosts through space and time here on the planet Earth. And alongside me is my wonderful, the one and only co-host of the Epic Love Radio Show, Mrs. Where's Blair?
Blair McKnight. Hi, everyone.
All right, and so here we are. This is episode number
53. Wow, 53.
53.
Yeah.
Man, we're over the hill on our way to 100.
Over the hill, through the woods.
I wonder who's going to be 100.
I don't know, someone really lucky.
It's going to be magical,
It
right?
might just be us two
we
by
need
then. We'll see.
Yeah, we run out of inspiring stories.
Yeah.
Never! There is no such thing.
There isn't.
There is so much inspiration in the world, and we are sharing it because we love promoting the positive. And why do we do that? Because, you know, when there's a lot of dark stuff happening out there in the world, it's also nice to light it up with a little sunshine coming through the radio.
A little positivity for you.
Yeah, for sure. And we are a show that is produced by and brought to you by the Piper's Angels Foundation. And Piper's Angels Foundation's mission is to support families with cystic fibrosis. And my daughter Piper has cystic fibrosis, and my oldest half-sister, Leanne, has cystic fibrosis. And that's how our family became aware of CF. And, you know, CF has some really challenging, hurdles and challenges to overcome along the way on that journey. And so tonight we have a very special guest who will be with us a little later, who is also a CF parent and is one of the founders of the Vivian Lee Foundation. And we will be diving deep with her into her passion and purpose with that organization a little bit later on. I want to give a big shout out to our supporting sponsors. Without our sponsors, The Crossing for a Cure, our big annual flagship fundraising event, the Epic Love Radio Show, none of this would be possible. The impact that we have in the CF community would not be possible. So thank you to Seacor Island Lines, Certera Wellness, Lifeguard Apparel, Vertex Pharmaceuticals, Hensler Financial, and Margaritaville. If you don't mind, we'd love for our listeners out there and anybody in the CF community and beyond in the paddle community to support those sponsors because they support us. So thank you very much. And I also want to give a shout out to Jeremy of Inlet Properties here for providing this incredible venue that we have, which is the Epic Love Studio. And Blair, you did such a wonderful job with the chalking.
Thank you. I appreciate it. It's hard to keep this board clean, I'll tell you. I'm getting in a fight with it, but that's okay.
But you're doing a great job. I mean, look at this. Look at this, folks. Welcome, Christy Rimrodt. Yep. And then we've got, I like how you can't really see it on screen, but up in the corner you have CF Awareness Month.
Yes, we'll get that on the screen next week.
Yeah.
That's important. May is CF Awareness Month.
And you even did it in purples, the CF color.
I did.
I love it.
So thoughtful.
CF Awareness Month. So ladies and gentlemen, this show is about awareness, not just for cystic fibrosis, but sharing inspiring stories that help others get through the challenges they're facing. And we want to thank everybody out there in Facebook land who is tuning in right now. Thank you, Gloria and Ayana and Michelle. Michelle, I want to say thank you because Michelle has tuned in quite frequently, and I really love seeing when you pop on. It just makes my heart warm.
It does, and she pops over and says hi to me at work too, and she just makes my day. I love
Awesome.
her.
And thank you to Gary Allen for tuning in, and Nikki. Thank you to everybody. Hey, Gunther Schwartz joined. Gunther is a CF warrior who is an incredible athlete, great role model in the community for a young human, and he is paddling in the crossing. Thanks for tuning in. Joanna's tuning in. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. All right. We appreciate you watching because it's important to us, and we really we love to express our gratitude for those who are supporting us in our mission. We got some updates, which are we just got back from the Carolina Cup. So it was actually my dad and I. My dad, who was a Marine and a firefighter, he's now retired. He rode up with me. We had some good father-son time. And I tell you what, the Carolina Cup was packed full of inspirational people.
Will you tell me a little bit about what the Carolina Cup is?
So the Carolina Cup is one of the largest, if not the largest, paddle race event on the East Coast that is U.S. and kind of land-based. They paddle around the island there in Wrightsville Beach. And it's been going on for, I think, 5 or 6 or 7 years now. And it's really just grown and built, and it's part of the World Paddle Tour, so it awards points to the competitors who are on the tour. So you get to actually, it's really cool, you get to see local paddlers, and then you get to see professional, like the world's best paddlers. I mean, these people are machines, they're beasts. And they're so fast on a paddleboard. Even though paddling's slow, they still make it look fast. And then, so you have other people who travel from all over to come to this Carolina Cup event. And, you know, the more that we get into the CF community, the paddle community with crossing event and what we do, it just becomes more and more clear that community is everything. It really is. Like, you know, people think about, I think they abstractly think about community, but they don't think about the energy they invest in the community. And the thing is, like, if you really think about it, like a give and a take, you know, what you put into your community is what you get out of your community.
Yeah, absolutely.
And if you don't invest in it, if you don't put your time and energy and love and compassion into your community, what do you think other people are doing? What do you think is going to come out of that?
Right.
You know, like, and so what I saw there was a great investment of really amazing people and their dreams of going to this event, right? Their, you know, just really profound stories kind of within it. There was a young girl there who's 14 years old, and her name escapes me right now, but she had battled cancer last year. And she did the entire graveyard race, which is what the pros do. 14 years old. In the final couple hours, like, she was battling this crazy headwind, and she couldn't get to the finish line, so she beached, you know, the board, and then she ran with her paddle like a mile down the beach. And like there were like 30 people running with her. I have a video of it. I'll share it. We'll share it
Please
on the
do.
Epic Love radio page.
Yeah.
And she runs up, and I mean, everybody's screaming, and they're like, I mean, people are in tears because the announcer said, you know, 1 year ago she was battling cancer. She had no hair. She was going through the hardest time of her life, and now here she is, charging across the finish line of the graveyard race. It was really, everybody was in tears.
Her name is Kira Buchanan. Joanna just said.
Thank you so much. So yes, a shout out to Kira Buchanan. We'll post the video. Kira rocked it, and she, you know, it made me think like that's like that spiritual nourishment, right? That's what mana is. It's like when you're around somebody or something, or you witness a direct experience with a moment that lights you up. That is healing.
Yeah.
That's energy. You know, that's mana. That's spiritual nourishment. And it was like so apparent that day that here this event was taking place, and the event was great. But I think everybody was kind of going through the motions of a great event day.
Mm-hmm.
And then this moment happened. And then it was like it lit everybody up.
Yeah, completely changes the vibe of things when something like that happens. I hope we can like bring that to the show. That's really like my wish for the show. And we've had some moments like that.
Yeah.
Where me and you are just like our jaws are on the floor listening to these people's stories.
Yeah.
You know?
Speechless.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
exactly.
you're just so taken aback by the moment of how powerful it is, and also how I think almost, you know, just like I'm trying to think of it, not it's like subconsciously grateful.
Mm-hmm.
Like you're just almost in a pool of gratitude.
Yeah.
You know, because you're just kind of awash in it.
Yeah, it's just grounding. It's like, wow, look at what she's doing. Okay, that thing I was mad about an hour ago, that was stupid.
Yeah.
You know?
The perspective shift.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
You know,
I was gonna say, I wanted to ask you too. Did you ever end up? We had Fiona Wild on the show a few weeks ago. Did you ever end up meeting up with her?
Look, I could spend the whole show on the Carolina Cup. I really could. I got to meet Fiona.
Did you?
And so I asked Fiona, if you guys don't know, listen back.
Yeah,
I don't know.
she's a- Yeah.
What,
I don't know. I went.
40 something? I don't know. 30 something?
Anyways.
A previous episode.
Yeah, right. And she's an amazing professional female stand-up paddler who has diabetes and has just persevered through so much to get to where she is today. It's pretty incredible.
Yeah, and you walk up, I asked her, first of all, I introduced myself and thanked her for coming on the show. And I said, Fiona, so how do you monitor your blood sugar level in a 2-hour event? Like you're out there paddling the whole time? And she's like, she pulls up her shirt and she goes, well, I monitor it on my watch because it comes from the button, you know, that her button to her phone that she had in her top pocket. So button to phone to watch, so she can see her blood sugar, and it progressively drops, right? Because she's burning up the sugar.
Right.
And so she has these little snacks that she snacks on throughout the event. She has 2 different kinds, one designed for like slow burn and one designed for fast burn. And it's like this young woman is out there battling it out, like one of the best in the world, and she's just managing her, you know, diabetes. No problem.
While kicking butt.
Yeah, while crushing it.
Yeah.
For sure.
Right.
I'm gonna tighten up my mic here. It's getting a little
It's getting a little
floppy on me.
loosey-goosey.
I got a floppy mic. All right. Thank you, Chris Smith, Cynthia Mitchell, Brantley McKnight. Hey, thank you for tuning in. We love all of you out there. Please feel free to ask questions, comment. And don't forget, this radio show, if you want to send it to a friend because you were so inspired by one of our guests, and you were just so entertained by Blair and I, that if you want to check it out on playback, you can visit iHeartRadio or Spotify to check it out. The other amazing human that I didn't know I was going to meet, and that literally I had an emotional meltdown after he walked away, was a gentleman named Scott Johnson. So I'll give you the story. I'm standing there, and I've got we're standing there, and Talia Shizano and Josh Lamphere behind me, and I'm talking to a group of people out in front of our tent, and I can see them like signaling, and I'm trying to wrap up the conversation, but I don't want to shorten it. I don't want to distract, take myself away. And so we finished the conversation. Finally, I turn and I meet Scott, and he's this just really calm, chill guy. We shake hands, and he starts telling me his story. And he's 47 years old with cystic fibrosis, had a double lung transplant 19 years ago, right? So his scars are huge scars on his chest and his abdomen. And he talked about growing up near Wrightsville Beach, where we were, and how when he was younger, he surfed and he participated in saltwater activities, and he was always fit. And he thinks that's what, you know, he testifies to that being not the only thing, but a big part of what helped him have a, you know, not only an enjoyable life, but a healthy life up until he got his transplant. And then what a great testimony for a guy who is also a 7-time Ironman, right? And he paddles and he surfs. What a testament to, as he has his handle on Instagram, he just joined CF Ironman.
Yep.
And I was like, dude, actually, you're an Ironman and an Aquaman combined. You're a double superhero. I'm just saying. Like, you can surf and paddle and do Ironmans. I've never even done an Ironman. I've always wanted to, but to think about doing that with somebody else's lungs, with CF, having gone through that, it's really incredible. I mean, and just being present with him, it was so inspiring because it was like looking at the pinnacle of health for somebody with CF who really gets it. And not only gets it, but for us as Piper's Angels Foundation, with saltwater activities in our salt supply program, Forever Stoked Scholarship, it's like, this is what it's about. He's a great example of how those activities, if really built as a skill set, could transform and really help somebody's life with CF. And we had a great conversation. I met his wife. We had this just amazing, you know, time together. We took a picture, and I'll cherish that moment forever, meeting him. And we recently posted the picture with him on our Piper's Angels Instagram, and I wrote a little blog piece for our Piper's Angels website we'll be putting up soon. But I just want to give a shout out to Scott Johnson, because for anybody who has CF, you could look up to this guy and you could say, wow, you know, he really is, you know, such a great example.
Yeah, I mean, a prime example of what you're trying to do with the foundation and what you're trying to show people with the crossing as well, and just living an active, healthy lifestyle, and how much it's going to benefit not just you and I, but people with cystic fibrosis. So.
Yeah, for sure. And I just saw that Paul Thibodeau joined.
Yeah.
And Paul was a previous double lung transplant guest on our show, Cystic Fibrosis. Incredible story. You should go back and listen to the episode with him. And Paul, very much like Scott, these two guys are truly inspiring. And if you guys don't know each other, Paul and Scott, you should follow each other.
Yeah, that was like perfect timing, Paul, tuning into that.
Yeah.
I hope you heard the whole
Yeah.
thing.
Because you guys rock. And I literally, after he walked away, I was so, it was just after watching the young girl who survived cancer run across the finish line, and then this happened, I was just like in total meltdown mode.
I'm sure.
But you know what I learned recently? This is interesting. There's an article about the intellectual capacity to have a high emotional intelligence.
Mm-hmm.
And what the neurosurgeon and neuroscientist was talking about is how, you know, practicing emotional intelligence is actually a practice. So people who are bad at it, it's because they've never really done it. So like they've never really been able to say I love you sincerely. Or they when they go to cry, they stop themselves from crying because they don't really know how to cry. Like their body wants to physiologically, but they mentally stop themselves. And that's actually called poor emotional hygiene. So people with good emotional hygiene, you know, pay attention to their emotions, and then they allow them to take place, kind of like windows open in a house. They allow the breeze and whatever flows through. And I thought that was really interesting. They also brought up something that's interesting that related to the crossing, which is scheduled suffering. So people who have high emotional intelligence schedule their suffering. So, for example, every person who signed up to paddle in the crossing scheduled their suffering, knowingly or unknowingly. They signed up because they know somehow, almost like spiritually, deep down, they need it. It's like a nourishment, right? Mm-hmm. To like suffer through something so that you come out of the other side and say, it's almost like if you were to go work out.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel good.
No.
It hurts. It's painful. It burns. You sweat. It's like, it's not, and there is a feeling good because of the chemicals, but I mean, it's a scheduled suffering.
Right. You're absolutely right.
So
It's pretty, I wonder what it means if you can't stop crying. Like you're just so emotional and you just, are constantly flowing.
well, if you can't stop filing your nails, then it's probably a problem. Then your emotional hygiene, your nail hygiene is probably.
No, I said crying.
No, I know, but I'm relating it to other types of hygiene.
Oh, okay.
Like, if you can't stop showering,
Yeah.
you've probably got a little bit of psychosis going.
Okay,
Like,
that makes
I
sense.
can't stop washing my body.
That makes sense now.
Sorry.
So we're gonna go to a break real quick.
Okay, let's take a break.
Yeah, because we have a guest coming on and we need to prep our food.
That's what that signal means. I thought it was like
No, at 5
a
Like-
dance move.
Like you guys are doing an awesome good job.
Oh, and I
Just
just,
like-
missed the call. I just missed the call.
Did you?
Yeah, it's okay. I'm calling her back.
We call that breaking
Oh my
it down.
gosh. That is so funny.
Break it down, baby. So everybody in Facebook land, please stay tuned in.
So how are we gonna hear them? Because I'm some speaker.
You
have
have
no
no
idea.
idea. Yeah, you're gonna put it on. You're basically just gonna hold
Wait,
it.
so when the webcam has the mic. Oh my god.
That mic.
The webcam has the mic for the Facebook Live.
But in order for them to be able to get a radio on there, we're gonna have to do it through the cell phone. W4CY.
Hi, this is Christy.
Hi, Christy. This is Jason. I'm actually the engineer for the show.
Hi.
Hi. All right. So just so you are aware, with Skype, we're actually having some technical difficulties. So what I'm
I
gonna.
tried on Skype, but it didn't work.
Yeah. Well, I missed. That was not you. I missed the call. So. So what I'm gonna have you do is I'm actually gonna have you call Blair's cell phone,
Okay.
and we're gonna do the interview from her phone. Do you have a pen and paper? I can give you the phone number.
Yep, I'm ready.
All right. It's area code 314 346
Speaker, I don't have a Bluetooth speaker.
5312.
You guys, Jeremy?
Okay, great.
All right.
Yeah.
All right.
Doesn't he have a-
Okay.
Bye.
Isn't this thing?
It's a Google, I don't know, can I connect to it?
I have no idea.
Alright, well, hopefully they can hear. I'll put it on now.
You just let me know when you get her. and we'll do
Hi,
that.
Christy.
Hi.
Thanks for dealing with our technical difficulties. I apologize.
Oh, no problem.
Like I told you, we're in a new studio, so we're still working out some kinks.
No big deal at all.
How are you doing?
I'm good.
Okay, good. We're gonna go live with you in just a second here.
You guys ready?
Yeah, we're
We don't
ready.
need our headphones.
Huh?
Do we need our headphones?
You won't need the headphones because you guys are going to be talking to each other, so you guys are fine. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and fade this out. I'm going to put back your intro music, and then cue you guys back in.
Okay, awesome.
All right. So just give me a second just so I can get back to that. All right.
Michelle says she can hear her. So that's good. You guys have to let us know how the sound sounds. All right, we are back with the Epic Love Radio Show from our break, and we actually have on the line, we have a very special guest this evening who we are super excited to have on the show and has a very inspiring story to share and tell. So thank you to everybody tuning in out there on Facebook. We have the one and only Christy Rimrodt, who is a CF parent and has an organization, the Vivian Lee Foundation, that we are excited to learn about today. Welcome, Christy.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Absolutely, we're excited to have you on the show. And where are you calling in from?
So we live in Rimrodt, Oregon, which is about 30 minutes south of Portland, Oregon.
How's the weather out there today?
Oh, it's actually gorgeous. It's about 75 and sunny. It's like absolutely beautiful.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, I've never been to Oregon, but it's actually a little cloudy and overcast here in sunny South Florida.
Oh, really? Yeah, Oregon's it's beautiful. We live kind of in wine country, so it's a beautiful area.
What's your favorite kind of wine?
Oh gosh, that's a bad question for me. I am not what you would call a wine connoisseur, but I usually go for whites, so you know.
Gotcha. Yeah. I just find it interesting that you're in wine country because we're in like orange country, but I guess fresh squeezed orange juice is my kind. But
That's true.
so obviously, with the Vivian Lee organization and foundation and your story, you have a close relationship to CF. So we would love to hear how you became involved with the CF community and what. Take us back a little.
Okay, yeah, so we have 3 children, and our oldest is 6 years old. Her name is Willa, and when I was pregnant with her, the very first time I heard the term cystic fibrosis was when we were getting some first trimester genetic screening done. And the doctor was kind of explaining to us all the different tests that they could do, genetic testing and things like that. And none of it was really of interest to me, but he was explaining what cystic fibrosis was and how it comes from, kind of a Northern European descent, and just telling us, well, 1 in 20 people can be carriers, there's no symptoms if you're a carrier. And my husband was joking, and he turned to me and he was like, oh, well, that sounds kind of interesting. Like, we both come from Northern European backgrounds, so let's just see if we're carriers. So that's kind of how it all started. I got tested and then got a call a couple weeks later confirming that I was a carrier. And then, they say, okay, well, your husband needs to go get tested now. And so he got tested, and then we got another call a week later saying, your husband's a carrier as well, so now you need to go and meet with a genetic counselor. And it was at that point that it kind of got serious for us because we had just heard about cystic fibrosis. We didn't really understand anything about it, and Googling it was probably not the best thing to go into.
Yeah.
But, that's at that point the doctors get kind of serious. They say, okay, you guys are both carriers, you need to go talk to a genetic counselor. So that was when it really got serious for us, and we went and spoke with a counselor and kind of learned a little bit more about it. We ended up doing an amniocentesis on my daughter to find out if she had it. And so we found out that our first daughter is actually a carrier as well. So we knew before she was born that she was just a carrier for the disease. And then at that point we were told, okay, now if you have any more kids, you need to expect that you have a 1 in 4 chance of any of your future kids having it. So fast forward 2 years, I then got pregnant again, this time with twins. And we were told, you can do the same type of testing for the twins and find out if they have CF, but we knew at that point that it was riskier to do that sort of test with twins, and we knew that they would be tested when they were born. So we just said, we're going to wait, and we're going to see when they're born, we'll find out. We'll do the newborn screen. And so my pregnancy was actually totally normal with the twins, and there were no signs, there were no red flags, there was nothing, alerting us that cystic fibrosis could be an issue. And then at about 36 weeks, I went in almost full term for an ultrasound, and all of a sudden, the twins who had been measuring the same size the entire pregnancy, all of a sudden, my girl, Vivian, was measuring 2 pounds smaller than her brother, which for twins is a pretty big difference. And so they were concerned and they didn't know why. And so they ended up inducing me, and they were born actually 2 pounds apart. But still at that point, we didn't know anything about cystic fibrosis. There was nothing indicating. I know a lot of kids with CF, when they're born, they have like an internal blockage, and that is a big indicator for them. But for Vivian, she didn't have any of that stuff. All we knew was she was smaller than her brother and whatnot. And so we ended up going home, and about 7 days or so, she was about 7 days old. She was only 4 pounds when she was born, and then she was not taking her food because she was spitting up her milk and she wasn't absorbing anything, and so she was losing weight. And when you're 4 pounds and you're losing weight, it's not a good
It's
sign.
not a good situation, yeah.
So we ended up being advised to take her back into the hospital, which we did, and we were in the hospital for over a week before the doctors actually tested her for CF. We kept telling them, we're carriers, we know we carry this gene, and we know that this is a very high likelihood. But they just thought, maybe it was a feeding issue, or maybe it was her low birth weight. They didn't want to jump to that conclusion. But we finally convinced them to do the blood test, and it was interesting. We had been talking with one of the cystic fibrosis doctors of the local hospital, and just kind of filling them in on our story and kind of what we were dealing with. And the doctor said, well, she has cystic fibrosis. You could just try giving her some pancreatic enzymes to see if she absorbs her food, which I'm sure, Travis, you're probably familiar with those.
Yeah.
And so we actually started giving her these enzymes before we even got any of our tests back, and she immediately started gaining weight, immediately started absorbing her food. And so it was really at that point that my husband and I both knew, okay, this has to be what it is. And then about a week later, the blood test was confirmed that that's what she had. So that was kind of our first introduction into cystic fibrosis.
Gotcha. And what's your son's name?
Graham, like
Graham.
the cracker.
Got it. That's funny because people always mistake my last name. I say it's suit, like the one you wear.
Oh,
Got it.
yeah, we spell his name funny too, and so it gets mispronounced all the time.
So Vivian was diagnosed at 9 days old, and then so when did you guys kind of jump into action and decide that you guys were going to start doing something to spread awareness and to raise money for a cure?
So when the twins were first born, we had a few bouts of hospitalizations, and it was kind of rocky the first couple of months, but we did do our local chapter's Great Strides Walk that first year, and we knew we wanted to, do something for awareness, whether it, just going to the walk, having friends and family in the walk, and it was a good experience for us. And then the following year, the twins were a year and a half old, and Vivian happened to be sick that year. So she ended up having to stay home with my husband, and I ended up going with the other 2 kids to the walk. And the walk is a great event. I am not downplaying that at all. The Cystic Fibrosis Foundation does an amazing job with their walks here. But the walk that I attended with my 2 young children was not a very good experience for me and my family. I just had 2 screaming kids the whole time. It was not a very stroller-friendly walk. I had family that showed up to support us, and I didn't even get to say hi to them. And so I just left the event feeling incredibly just disappointed. Like I felt like, okay, here I am asking all of my family and friends to support us, to give money, and to show up for this fundraising event. Yet I didn't even get to say hi or thank you to some of these people who came. I didn't even barely get to see them. And I didn't really get to even enjoy the fundraiser because, my husband had been home with our daughter and I had the other 2 kids. And so it was just, for our time in our lives as a family, it was just a very hard event for us to participate in.
Right.
And so at the end of that walk, I literally was, I think, one of the very last people in the walk, because it just ended up being one of those days with kids. And my friend and I were walking together, and we were just talking and brainstorming and saying, I wish there was a different way that we could fundraise that spreads awareness, but maybe just fits my interests and my family's lifestyle a little bit better than what's available right now. And so we just started talking, and I'm a huge lover of vintage decor and decorating and things like that, and they've got different markets around here that you can go to, and there's vendors and things. And so we just started brainstorming, and my friend had said, why don't you host a market? Like, why don't you have vendors come and you can fundraise that way and incorporate your own interests. I'm a photographer by trade. I've been a photographer for about 15 years. So that's kind of how it started, and we just about 6 months after that, we had our first market, and it was tiny. It was about 9 vendors, and but we had a couple hundred people come in the middle of an ice storm, and the amount of community support was it's shocking to me. It was a huge blessing, and it just has kind of snowballed and grown from there. And I was listening to you guys at the beginning of the show and how Travis, you're just talking about community and giving back and being involved, and it really has been that way for us as well. Just, we started off as a very small idea, and we've had so much support, and the community has just been so, it's just made it so much more worth it than I ever imagined it could turn into an actual, nonprofit and an actual fundraiser that we do twice a year now.
Well, I can relate because I never would have imagined we'd have this many crazy people paddling across the ocean for our crossing event. Well, congratulations on being daring enough to take your idea and make it a reality. A lot of people stop before they are willing to take the risk and the leap. And I think all of us in our own way, we have these inner talents and creativity, and creativity is a really interesting form of your imagination and your energy coming to life in a manifested form. And when I came across your website the first time, I was just, it's obvious now that you say you're a photographer because your imagery is beautiful. The graphic design elements are really attractive, and it's really aesthetically pleasing. And the website is it's so well done that, it makes me want to be, it makes me curious to see what's on there. And when I was looking around and I found, under the shop, those lungs that are made out of, what is it made out of? It's like a light wood, right?
It's a wood, yeah. So what's been one of the really cool things that has come out of this entire experience is these other artists and other vendors that we have worked with, and we've now been able to collaborate with them on these special products that are, to raise awareness for CF. And the necklaces you're talking about are these hand-painted, wood engraved necklaces that she took a lung drawing that one of our artist friends did specifically for our t-shirts, and she turned it into a necklace and hand painted it, and now it's just become kind of our signature piece for the foundation. And it's beautiful, and it has so much meaning to us, but it also has a lot of meaning to other people out there too. And those connections and community building has just been awesome too, because we've seen all these other artists come out and say, yeah, we want to create something for you to help raise awareness. How can we help? How can we collaborate? And that's been a really cool, unexpected part of it too.
Yeah, absolutely. And it looks like you have a really cool Mother's Day gift box called Just Breathe that looks awesome. And with Mother's Day coming up, that would make a great gift. I will probably be purchasing a couple of those tonight. Yeah.
Yeah, we're excited about those. So.
For sure. Well, it's really amazing to see your creativity come to life in that way in the collaborative relationships. So how old is the organization as of now?
So we became an official nonprofit in 2017. So we're going on almost 2-year anniversary. We have a current board of about 5 board members, and our markets have grown. We now do 2 markets a year. So our Mother's Day one is coming up next weekend, and then we do a 3-day one at Christmas time. So we do a holiday one as well, and it's grown to close to 40 vendors and over 2,000 people coming to our events, and it's just been really cool to see it blossom and to see the board come together with other people who are passionate. One of our board members just found us on Facebook, or I can't remember where she found us, but and she was the same situation that me and my husband. Her husband found out they were carriers. They didn't know anything about cystic fibrosis until they learned that being a carrier, and decided they wanted to help in some way. And she has a background in grant writing, and she's a professional grant writer, and so they started volunteering for us, and now she's on our board of directors. And it's just those types of connections that I never could have dreamed coming into it. You know, I feel like it was all supposed to happen that way. So.
It's beautiful. And I have to say too, I love vintage things. So when I heard that you were coming on the show in Vintage Market, I was like obsessed. We need to get one of those down here because that's just amazing. So what other, besides jewelry, what other kinds of things can you find there?
So we have a lot of home decor vendors, so like vintage and redone home decor, signage and jewelry. We usually have like a handmade soap person. We have some local food vendors. You know, we sell candles. I mean, it's kind of a little bit of everything, but it's very highly curated. So we try to kind of make sure all the vendors have an aesthetic that kind of goes, you know, with each other. And it's a little bit hard to explain because I feel like when we tell people it's a market, in their heads they kind of go to like Christmas bazaar type of look.
Yeah.
It's really not what it is. It's very different. It's very, you know, like you said, like artistic and curated. And we try really hard to make sure that all of our vendors they put a lot of craft and care into their products. And, you know, you can tell the difference when you come and shop. So
Yeah, when I think vintage, I think detail. And
Right.
that's a lot of the things that I'm seeing on your website. It's beautiful.
thank you.
So I was reading on the website that one of your programs is a family assistance program. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, so one of the big things that my husband and I, when we sat down and decided, okay, we do want to make this a nonprofit and we want to help our way, because, you know, when we first started, we wanted to just raise money for research, right? Because everybody wants a cure. Of course, I want a cure for this horrible disease. But what I came to realize, you know, I'm now 4 years into this disease with my daughter, that until there's a cure, we still have to live with this. We still have to do her treatments every day and give her the medicine and go to her clinic visits and do all of the things that you have to do, right? And what we decided with the money that we were raising, in addition to doing research, was that we wanted to help families in some of the ways that we had experienced struggle. So having 3 kids under the age of 2, I had to take all 3 of those kids to hospital clinic visits, you know, every month, every other month, for multiple hours at a time. And it was incredibly taxing on me. And it was, my husband never got to come because he was always at work. And so then there was a communication barrier, or, you know, miscommunication between us about me trying to explain to him how to do treatments and how to give her meds and all of those things. And so we came up with a family assistance program to help other families dealing with the same thing, help them pay for childcare so maybe they can keep the siblings at home and they can just come to clinic with their one cystic fibrosis child, or pay for the spouse to take the day off of work so that he or she can also come to clinic and talk with the doctors and understand, you know, the treatment regimen and all of that stuff. So really just empowering families to feel like they can, you know, be fully equipped and have all of the information without feeling frazzled when you're in the doctor's office with 2 or 3 other children and you've been in there for 2 hours and, you know, babies are crying and, or, you know, your spouse is working. Like, it's just, we want to alleviate some of that stress of having to take in all of the information that comes with cystic fibrosis and treating it. And so that's kind of the gist of what it covers. It also will pay if families have hospitalizations and a parent needs to take time off of work. It'll pay for travel and food expenses and things like that. So it's really just a way for us to make their life with CF a little bit easier, because, I mean, we understand it, we've been through it, and we're still going through it.
Yeah, you know, it's so interesting because our organizations, Piper's Angels and Vivian Lee, their organizations are about the same age. So Piper's Angels is 28 months old. We got our 501c3 tax designation in January 2017, and
Just a few months then.
yeah, and
We were June.
yeah, we have similar birthdays, and you know, and it was born out of the same reason, which was, you know, if you're gonna give people hope for a cure, you also have to give them hope for today. And you know, I'm so glad to see another CF family rallying their community and the CF community for each other. Because, you know, it's really, it's interesting because that whole community thing, right? Like we were talking about earlier, like what you put in is what you get out. And I always tell people, you know, I'm infinitely grateful for all the drug therapies and the research that's helping Piper to have a really long life. But when you have a terminal progressive disease, it compounds. And so a child who maybe would have lived to be 5 years old, that's living to be 30 years old, they might be living 6 times longer, but that doesn't mean that there's going to be 6 times the complications and the financial burden. It actually means it might be 60 or 600 times, because every year the child lives, it doubles or triples down on the health, you know, that of what they're facing as they get older, until they need transplant or until they run into those bigger challenges, which may come later in life. But you know, if people just don't realize, you know, okay, you got a kid whose dream is to go to college because he was told he was never going to live to be 20. He goes to college, but then gets really sick. Well, he has college loans. What does he do about that? You know, a mother who's got CF who didn't realize she was going to live to be the age where she could have children, and now she's got a choice to make. You know, there's some major challenges these families are facing, and I think the only way they're going to get solved is by families like yours, families like mine, standing up and fighting for these families, and really taking, you know, very socially innovative views on how to solve these problems. And so what a great honor to have you on the show and to celebrate what you've built and the community that you're building around your children and your daughter. And you know, that part of it, the love, you know, that people shine back on your family because of what you're doing. You know, Vivian she'll grow up in a world where that is ever present. And I think that's probably the most profound and important aspect of what you're doing.
Thank you. I mean, I appreciate it. And it goes the same for your foundation as well. I mean, it is very inspiring to see other, like you said, CF families doing whatever they can in their own way, right? Like with your you know, the Crossing for a Cure and all these innovative ways of fundraising that it's making people stop and look and say, oh wow, like I didn't, you know, I'd never heard of CF, or I've heard of CF, but I didn't realize it was so serious, you know. And so just getting people's attention in a new way, and I think that's what's important, because, you know, fundraising can kind of be boring sometimes. So,
yeah. Well, yes, that's a great point. You know, and it's a new world out there, and people, you have to evolve, and you if you're going to have an organization where people are going to give, it has to be a two-way street where you're going to give back. And I think what you're doing is incredible. And for everybody tuning in and listening, whether it's on Facebook Live, thank you for joining now, listening to the Vivian Lee Foundation story. You guys can go online. You can check them out. They're on Facebook under Vivian Lee Foundation, as well as Instagram. They have some just beautiful stuff. It's a beautiful story and family. And I would love to find a way to have a collaborative kind of strategic partnership with you where we can promote what you're doing through our networking community, because I think there's a lot of people. That's why I bought a bunch of those necklaces, because I had a lot of people in mind that I wanted to give those to as gifts. And I thought it was just such a special thing. And so really just excited to have connected.
Totally, yeah. We would absolutely love partnering, and this may be a dumb question on my part, because I just, we're actually, our next fundraiser's next weekend, so life's been a little nuts, but with your Crossing for a Cure, do you do those in more than one location, or do you just mainly do the one in Florida?
At the moment, we just have the one main flagship event, and it's growing significantly, and we're just trying to get it to a sustainable point. But it's always on Father's Day weekend, and but we'll definitely share a bunch of stuff on the Epic Love page and Piper's Angels. We got about 2 minutes left in the show, and so we got to land the plane. Any final words of wisdom, insight, or shout outs that you want to make?
No, I just really appreciate you guys having us on, and we love seeing other CF families doing the same thing and fighting for a cure. So we're honored to be included. So thank you.
Absolutely, for sure. Thank you.
Thanks, Christy.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Awesome.
That was amazing. I love her.
I love her
I love what they're
too.
doing.
Well, guys, that was another amazing guest
Yeah.
sharing their inspiring story of love through action. And guess what? Next week we have another amazing guest in studio, and it's going to be Karen Williams-Nottage of the KWN Shoe Project. She is a fashion designer who is spearheading this project to donate new shoes to those in need.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, as always, I feel like we don't have enough time. We need more time. We could have talked for hours.
Yes.
It's such a thank you to everybody tuning in. Keep promoting the positive. We give a shout out to our awesome sponsors. Alu Alu is Harmony in Tahitian, and it's all about balance out there. Thank you, Health Career Institute, Tanker Oil, Peter Marcus Coaching. We love you. We love the support. We'll see you next week.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. We love you.
Bye,
we love
guys.
you. We love you. We love you.